Hi, I'm Dylan Potter, Vice President, Portfolio Manager here at Howe Rusling. On today's episode of Street Smarts, we're going to tackle the question of when can I retire? First, this is an intensely personal question. Every person's retirement outlook is different. The bottom line is that you'll be able to retire when the income streams you create, whether it be Social Security, your savings, investments, and any other sources you might have, are enough to support your desired standard of living after you leave your job. Most financial planning doctrine says that this usually equates to about 80% of your working lifestyle annual expenses. Of course, there's no one-size-fits-all answer here. Many retirees plan to travel the world after they retire, while others are perfectly content with living a simple or inexpensive life. What we do know is that we should expect to live a long time. In 1930, 5 years before Social Security legislation was passed, the average life expectancy of U.S. citizens was about 59.7 years old. Thus, the math worked out somewhat favorably for a program designed to pay workers a continuing income after retirement at age 65. The number of people who could statistically expect to live long enough to collect was relatively limited, and the percentage of people older than 65 was less than 6% of the population. Today, the average life expectancy in the U.S. has gone up to almost 80 years old. In fact, if we dig into the numbers a little bit, if an American female lives to age 65, she has a 75% chance of living to age 78, a 50% chance of living to age 85, and a 25% chance of living to age 91. These numbers increase more when we look at the odds of at least one spouse in a married relationship. So, is it $1 million or $2 million that I need in retirement? Well, let's do some time value of money math to illustrate two different individuals, age 65 and ready to retire. Individual A has a more expensive lifestyle. He envisions spending about $7,000 a month above and beyond what he's receiving in Social Security. This equates to about $84,000 a year above and beyond Social Security. If we assume an annual rate of return of about 5%, and a lifespan of 30 years to age 95, that individual theoretically needs a portfolio of about $1.3 million to stretch over those 30 years of distributions. This portfolio would need to be even larger if we assume that that individual wanted to leave a financial legacy to his beneficiaries. Conversely, individual B only plans on spending about $2,000 per month beyond Social Security, or $24,000 annually. Again, if we assume a 30-year lifespan and an annual rate of return of about 5%, the starting value of that portfolio on the eve of retirement would need to be only about $373,000. While these are merely examples, they aim to illustrate that small changes to inputs can drastically affect what is theoretically needed in retirement. Perhaps a more appropriate initial question is, how do I envision my life in retirement? While the usual narrative tends to be golf, grandkids, and travel, we all know that life in retirement is perhaps a bit more complicated than that. As we all live longer lives, there's an awful lot to consider about your retirement years. From choosing the right Medicare plan, to the possibility of upsizing, downsizing, or moving. It also means having a plan to generate income in your portfolio while also understanding your sustainable drawdown rate. Ultimately, retirees want to be able to live their desired lifestyle when they are no longer actively employed. They want to be able to solve the problems that come with longevity, and those problems, more and more, go beyond simply funding your retirement accounts with stocks and bonds. Control what you can control, and make the most of those things that you can control, but lean on your team to evaluate the factors that are somewhat or completely out of your control within your comprehensive retirement plan. If you aren't sure if you're on track for the retirement you want, it's a smart idea to consult Howe Rusling financial planners who can assess where you stand now and suggest a savings and investment plan to get you to where you want to be. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Street Smarts, where we discussed your road to retirement. And remember, a team of competent individuals is a force multiplier.